Hey guys, Steve Stanek here, Dusty Keratometer. It's a rainy day in North Florida here. It's not always sunny in Florida, unfortunately. Today I'm going to talk about the creative use of mirrors in your optical dispensary. When I went to PCO, the optical shop was in a very small area, and patients would come in and they would look around and they would say, "You guys don't have enough frames." And sometimes they'd leave. The manager complained to me. He said, they're only seeing 1/3 of our frames because actually they had the frame bars that rotated. So if you looked at them from the top, they were triangular. So if you contrast that with an optical shop that was near my house in Springfield, Virginia at the time, what they did was they had mirrors applied to an entire wall. So again, when you casually looked at the place or walked in and looked around, the place appeared twice as big as it really was, and it looked like they had twice as many frames. I made this little mock-up here with my desktop computer showing you the effect. If these are your frames, and if you could apply a mirror to one whole wall, it has a pretty dramatic effect. Now, granted, there's a cost associated to it, and you may not be able to display frames on that particular wall unless you can figure out a way to display them in front of the mirrors. But hey, the patients need mirrors to see how they look in your frames anyway, so it might work. A few years ago, my wife and I went to Las Vegas to see Fleetwood Mac. It was pretty impressive. We got to meet Mick Fleetwood. We stayed in some the MGM Grand has some rooms in the West Wing. They're called West Wing Kings. And it's basically a king-size bed in a very small room, roughly the size of a cruise ship cabin. They're 350 square feet. But what they did is they have 3 or 4 foot wide mirrors, floor to ceiling, 2 in each corner. And as you see from these photos, it really creates the illusion of space. So anyway, something to consider if you have an optical shop. You may want to see if your footprint lends itself to it. Perhaps you can apply mirror tiles or large mirrors to one wall. I would recommend against mirroring opposite walls. As you know, they do that frequently in elevators, and when you do that, you kind of get that infinity effect, which may be a little too far removed from reality. It may be beneficial to stay a little more conservative in your optical and just mirror one wall. Now, if you were to mirror 2 adjacent walls, it would make it look 4 times as large. But again, you'd have the problem of giving up that wall space and the cost involved. Just an aside, my best friend, Jim, who unfortunately passed away a few years ago, so speaking of opticals, he had a lady come in, and one time she looked around at his frames, and she said to him, "You don't have enough expensive frames." So the next time the frame rep came, Jim talked to the rep and said, show me some of your high-end frames. So he put these in a special cabinet, and when he finished with his patients and whatnot, he'd say, "Okay, these are my designer frames." And he called me up one time, just happy as could be, and he said, "Steve, I'm selling about 6 of these frames a week." He said, "Who would have thought people are willing to pay that kind of money for a frame?" But it's interesting. It just goes to show how you got to listen to your patients and not limit yourself in terms of, he was sticking with the low to medium price frames, and he realized that there are a lot of people out there that want to pay for the premium items. And Jim took advantage of that. Anyway, talk to you next time. Thanks for watching. See you later.